Welcome to this video. So in this video, we are going to speak to femininity in masculinity. We're going to speak to hyper-feminine men, and we're going to speak to how can women attract the type of man they truly yearn for. Now this video has been prompted by a message I received from a viewer, someone that's a supporter that observes my work and is sent in a question. I'm going to read the question to you and then I'm going to go into answering it. Now, let me be really clear on something though. This is a tough one. This is a video for a longer video. This is a topic or a subject matter for a longer video. And I probably will do like a mini lecture series on this. When I say probably, I just need to make the time and create the space for it because I think it's really an important subject matter. So let me read the question in full and then I'm going to go into breaking it up at the most simplistic level that I can. One relationship pattern of mine that I can see from where I am now is that in the past, out of a conscious desire to avoid dating a man who exhibited the violent tendencies that my dad had growing up, I often ended up choosing men who were way too much in their feminine. Let me pause there for a moment. I want to comment on that. And so that is a standard and a very common defensive or protective mechanism that we'll do. We will seek the opposite of what we experienced if what we experienced was really painful or traumatic or dangerous or entrenched in fear or just did not align with our truth. So don't judge yourself for that. Don't be harsh and hard on yourself for that. Know that that is very normal to be experiencing that. Especially in our intimate romantic adult relationships, we would generally seek the opposite of what we experienced if it was traumatic. But I realize now that the reason those relationships were so emotionally unfulfilling is because I assume that since they were not aggressive types, they must be very in touch with their feelings and able to emotionally show up for me in the way I desired. I'm pausing there. And this is me speaking now. We often make that assumption. And that's very, very far from the truth, or it can be very far from the truth. What really determines someone being able to be in touch with their feelings and yet be available and not be an unhealthy praxis is really determined by the level of deep inner work they've done, the level of self-awareness they have. And that has to be a journey laden with effort and deep intent. Let me go back to the question. In reality though, they were either still very disconnected from their emotions or way too watery with them and never offered the protective energy and strong, solid container that I craved. This message is coming from a woman, by the way, and she's a heterosexual woman and she is seeking strong masculinity in a man that assists her in feeling connected and feeling safe. And feeling where she can be fully expressed in herself. Let me continue. To be clear, I totally take responsibility for my part in those relationships and my own lack of full emotional availability at those times. I'm going to pause there. Often, in a situation like this, we would be very scared. If we had the upbringing that this woman had, we would be scared to go into being emotionally available and opening our hearts up and opening our bodies up and opening up our sexuality to a man because we've been met in the past with violence and abuse and it's been volatile and unsafe. But I would love to hear your insights regarding both sides. What may cause a man to be fully in his feminine? Let me pause there. Let me go into that. So there are many, many reasons. This is where the length of this video can just go down massive rabbit holes. Let me start with, and let me be really clear on something. This isn't about blaming. This isn't about shaming. This isn't about projecting or externalizing our issues. This is a collective drama that we're in, a collective psychodrama and play that we are in. And we're all in this together. And so this isn't a woman's fault. This isn't a man's fault. This isn't a parent's fault. This isn't society's fault. These are conditions that we're being raised in and we're living to largely at an unconscious level. part of that is because we're so busy in this world trying to survive, even though we've been in massively peaceful times, even though we're living in the most abundant times, we're still surviving because the mentality that we have, especially in the West, is we must be doing better all the time. We must be improving and increasing our capacity all the time. And so it leaves us with less room and less space to go into some of these deep traumas that we've experienced or pains that we've experienced growing up during our developmental years, and we haven't dealt with that stuff. So what may cause a man to be fully in his feminine? One of these reasons could be that he's had a hyper feminine upbringing. Divorce rates are so high at the moment. Absent fathers are just not present. This isn't about blaming the fathers. This isn't about blaming the mothers that are trying to fill the role of a father figure, a masculine father figure, and a feminine mother as well. And so they're trying to balance both masculine and feminine energies and expressiveness within themselves for their child. And so boys are being exposed to these hyper feminine ways of doing things. Women are also holding on, the collective feminine, and this is shifting, by the way, is also holding on to the collective pain that masculine has caused. And so that is also at subtle energetic levels and unconscious levels being expressed and being put on those young boys. And so boys are growing up thinking masculinity is wrong, masculinity is not healthy overall. And the truth is both femininity and masculinity can be healthy and unhealthy. And so societal influences about femininity are taking over. We're looking at the waves of feminism that have come into our lives, into society. This isn't about being bad and good, but it's shunned some of the healthy aspects of masculinity. And it's not completely accepted in certain circles such as sports. Now, if you're not into sports per se, which I think every human being should be into physical movement, whether it's sports or whether it's another expression of that, especially men, because one of the cornerstones of masculinity and having that masculine edge, because essentially what women want, and this is what women are coming to me with, and you'll see this in a moment when I read the rest of the message, is they want a masculine edge, yet they want men to be also in their feminine, in other words, be in touch in a cohesive, healthy way with their emotional being and their emotional states. And so this becomes very challenging if men aren't in their healthy masculine. Women come to me and say, how can a man develop his healthy feminine? My immediate response is develop and cultivate his healthy masculine. Step into his core essence and take ownership of that and be and express that in the world. And so there's this level of helplessness that men are experiencing as well in the world. And so they're moving towards what they think women want, which is this this feminine state, but they're rolling too much with it in such an extreme that they're losing an essence of their own masculinity. They're losing a sense of their masculine edge. And what women truly want is that edge with a man to be emotionally sound. Let me go into the remainder of the question. And how can women attract men who are balanced in their feminine and connected with their emotions while still holding a strong, protective masculine container, especially women who grew up with fathers who operated from a wounded masculine space? It's a beautiful question. That's the end of that message, right? And so the first thing that, and this woman is asking, what do women need to do? She's really taking responsibility for her expression, her role in the world. She's saying, what do women really need to do? And what women need to begin with is heal that father wound, is go into that process of forgiveness, tap into one of many feminine powers, and that is compassion. That is empathy, nurturing, care, understanding, intuition. Go into great depth the process of forgiveness, forgiving the father wound that you have within you. And then you'll be able to attract at greater depth, that healthy masculine man that can hold that container for you as you wish. And there's so much more to this, and I'll probably do a part 2 on this as well. But for now, we go to that question, what can women do to attract a man that is balanced in their feminine? Also know that I'm opening up spots to work. I work with women now in a one-on-one capacity, and I'm extending that into deep group work where we traverse the depths of masculinity and femininity over a 3-month period, and more on that later. But right now, it's about focusing on your own femininity, cultivating that within yourself. Movement is beautiful. Dance, flow, tapping into your own sensuality and sexuality, tapping into how can you create a support network around yourself. This is powerful. This is a beginning. There's a comment here though, it's such a fine line to forgive the father and at the same time, or forgive the father at the same time not be accommodating to the same wounding masculine energy and hold the line. Absolutely. No, I hear that, and it is a fine line, and it's challenging, and it's deep work, and it's not easy. And if we do it, we liberate and free ourselves. And that's the opportunity that we have. There's so much more to say on this. I'm going to cut it there. Wish you many blessings on your journey, and I'll speak to you again soon.